You're listening to the Surgeons of Horror podcast. Hello, welcome to the Surgeons of Horror podcast. Its purpose is to dissect horror films, both old and new. This year we've been delving into some of the best films of the decade, and we kicked that all off with 2010, and we put the vote out to you to say what was your favourite movie for 2010. You guys came back with I Spit on Your Grave, and we had to delve into that, one of the dirtiest dissections we've ever had to do. But we did it for the love of you guys. And we came out the other side sort of unscathed, slightly, some a bit mentally unhinged, but you know, we'll live to see another day. But we did that for you guys. We posed it again this time round for 2011. And the winner of that one was You're Next, directed by Adam Wingard. Before we go into talking about that, and we will talk about the other names that were on that list too, but before we get into that, we should probably introduce ourselves. My name is Saul Muerte. I'm the lead surgeon and host of the podcast for the Surgeons of Horror. I'm joined for this episode by Miles Davies.
Hello.
Welcome aboard, sir.
Thank you.
And it's quite a fit. I mean, you were joined with us, and it looks like you're still okay and living after the
yes, battered and bruised.
Yeah. But thanks.
Seeking revenge.
That's right. But but thanks for coming on board again for this one. To talk
That's
about
right.
Your Next.
It's a great film, so it's a pleasure.
And I know we normally reserve our comments and thoughts about the movie till the end, but I feel like after the last one, I do want to reiterate that I really do enjoy this movie. And when I watched it back again just recently, literally last night, I was having so much fun watching the film.
It's a very fun film.
Yeah.
It's not, I mean, it's horror, but it's like it's slasher horror, but it's got some balls to it. Shani Vincent's she's just an absolute ass kicker. I love her. I was like, oh mate, you're representing the Aussies.
I know, man. I know. And what's happened to her though? Like seriously, you watch that film and you think, yeah, that you have such a stellar performance in this.
Yeah.
And yet she's kind of like, from what I'm trying to look at with her credits list, she's gone off the ball. She did that House on Willow Street, which I haven't seen.
Yeah, and Patrick, and so yeah. I think she's done little screen queenie type stuff. Bait, I think. Bait 3D, that's right. She was in there, which was an Aussie flip. Nothing massive, but no. I mean, it was a cracking performance in this. So
yeah, I agree.
It is a shame. I mean, yeah, she went from Home and Away to this. So, yeah.
I know, man. I know, right? Yeah. So, like, yeah, no.
I mean, I stopped watching Home and Away years ago, but apparently she was like in hundreds of episodes. She was a regular cast member for years. Okay. And yeah, so yeah, she was one of the soapy stars that went off to do bigger things.
That's it. I mean, I will always champion her. I think she does so well in this performance.
Yeah.
And if you are happening to listen or stumble across this, Shani, like if you want to give us a call, we're more than happy to have a quick chat with you. We'd love to have a chat with you about your experience on this. It would be awesome.
I mean, she's definitely the queen of this film.
Yeah, absolutely. I just love the way the character builds throughout the whole film. It's just and the revelations as it unfolds is really, really cool.
It's nice.
Yeah, totally. All right, so as we said, we're already kind of starting to kind of offer our immediate reactions to this movie. But let's, before we get into it, let's just put out the list there that I put out for the 2011 list that we were talking about. So we had Lee Winnell's movie, so from Saw History. He put out a movie called 11-11-11. That was in there. We had one of my favourite horror movies of the last decade, actually, Absentia, was in there.
Oh, cracking film. Mike Flanagan.
Yeah, Mike Flanagan. His first ever kind of Was it his first film or his first horror film? Anyway,
I think it was his first feature-length horror film. Because I think he made it as a short film, and then just spent like weekends and whenever he could making it as a feature film. So
yeah.
But yeah, that's a cracking film. It's one of my favourite horror films of all time.
Yeah, it's really,
and I'm not
really
surprised. Like he's you know, you could see that film and you go, that guy's going to be fucking massive one day.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, Haunting of Hill House later.
Yeah. That's it. That's right.
It's history.
Yeah. So like, and people have watched House on Haunted Hill should. And if you're a fan of that kind of craft and his storytelling, should definitely go check out his earlier stuff. There's some really cool movies he's done. I feel like I'm never
very smart horror.
I feel like I'm never disappointed when I watch his films.
No,
really cool. Okay, so then we had a film called The Awakening, which I believe had that British girl in it, and mine's gone completely blank now. That's her name.
Rebecca Hall.
Yes, that's it. Thank you. That's her
Rebecca Hall and Dominic West.
Yes, that's it.
Yes. I saw that one. That was quite good. It was a nice little gothic horror.
Yeah, that's right.
Story.
I think it's still available on Stan or Netflix, one of the two. So people who want to go check that out. Never heard of it. It's quite good. We had the Fright Night remake in there.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's a good little film, that one too. Not bad remake actually. Again enjoyed the movie. Like I said, there's some
great cast, you know.
Yeah,
it's Anton Yelchin, David Tennant, Imogen Poots,
David Tennant's so good.
And Toni Collette, yes.
Like I said, there's some good little gems in this list. And we had Grave Encounters, the found footage film, which has spawned a couple of other sequels off the back of it. I think Ant likes it, but then he likes found footage films.
Ant's got a thing for his found footage.
He does.
Yeah.
Then The Innkeepers.
Oh, that's a cracking film.
Yeah, it is a good film.
Another Mumblegore.
Another Mumblegore. That's right. And we will touch on Mumblegore because obviously Your Next is a huge Mumblegore film. And the other, just to round out a few of the other ones, we had Barn of the Dead, which was the Cuban kind of comedy, zombie horror comedy thing.
That's fun, that one.
Yeah, it's a good fun movie. And then we had the Tunnel movie, so the Tunnel with our friend Enzo producing the back of that one, Aussie little film. And again, it's a very smart film, that one too. So if you've not seen
it's great.
That, definitely go check it out. It's definitely done more from like a documentary kind of style footage, but very, very cool film. And then the last one, obviously other than Your Next, the last one was The Woman, directed by Lucky McKee.
Cracking film.
Yeah, so it was a pretty good list.
Yeah,
and the people.
It's a strong year.
Yeah, it was a strong year. It was a very strong year. And I want to say I haven't got the notes in front of me, which is a bit stupid. But I want to say, actually, Grave Encounters was one of the ones that was high up there.
Right.
Yeah, that people were wanting to talk about. But hands down, by quite a margin, Your Next was the movie that was voted by you people. So we're going to do that. We're going to do this. We're going to kind of talk about the movie as you guys have voted it. So this is. Oh, sorry, stumbling away. So. We're going to take a little look at this, but before we kind of delve into the nuts and bolts of it, probably a bit of background. We just said that it was a huge Mumblegore film, directed by Adam Wingard, who has gone on to do the Death Note remake, but he also did Blair Witch as a remake too, and he's remaking.
I Saw the Devil.
Thank you. Yeah, I Saw the Devil. Which I'm really intrigued about.
Actually, it's Simon Barrett. He was the scriptwriter on this, and Adam Wingard teaming back up again. They make a bit of a dream team going on there. Awesome film.
When those two, I agree. Yeah, when the two of them work together, they come up with some gems. I have to admit. I mean, like some people have argued that Blair Witch was a bit of a letdown, but I personally,
I really dug it.
Yeah,
I really did.
I really like what they did with the folklore behind it. I found that the way they built that out, and played the whole kind of is it Solomon's Lot, the Greek story where you can't turn back and look at the thing. That whole kind of stuff was playing in there as well, and there was a lot of that imagery that they kind of really built on and made the legend richer, I felt.
I think so too.
And that's a testament to Simon Barrett's writing, and part of why this movie, You're Next, to me, is actually a bit of a gem because it's got some wicked comedy in there, and it rips along at a really nice pace. I have to say, and I know that some of the actors improvised a little bit of the dialogue in there too, which is meant to be a bit of a trait of the mumblecore movement.
Yes.
So, and I think that's more around like the dinner scene and stuff. There's a bit of like, they let them kind of improvise a little bit around there. But yeah, two huge players in the mumblecore movement in the creation of this movie. But even some of the stars that are in this too have a huge weight in the mumblecore scene.
Definitely.
So, like, I'm just trying to think now. I mean, I know he's an actor, but like AJ Bowen, who played who plays Crispian in this, he has starred also in The Signal and A Horrible Way to Die, which were two earlier mumblecore films. So he's been a bit of a go-to player for those kind of movies, and his character is quite incredibly central to the plot device of this one. And we also had Joe Swanberg, who in this movie plays one of the brothers of the family,
and he crosses over into doing a lot of mumblecore films.
Yeah.
So he's more of a director, actor, writer. So he's been across a lot. As I said, mainly does the mumblecore stuff.
That's right. Yeah.
But delves into the odd horror here and there.
Yeah, that's right.
You see him in VHS and VHS 2 as well.
That's right. And he was in The Sacrament as well, which was a big one.
That's right.
As well as in front of the screen, I'm talking about as well. He plays Drake in this, and he's really fucking annoying in a good way in this movie. Very, very cool.
Definitely.
And then we also have
Ty West.
Ty West, he's the guy I was going to come to next, who's a huge director in the mumblecore films. In fact, he even was the guy behind The Innkeepers, which was in our list.
That's right.
We're talking about.
And that is a cracking film, by the way.
It is a really cool film.
It's just so creepy. I don't know. It's got one of my favourite finales of a ghost film. And it sent shivers down my spine.
Yeah.
That one. That was a cracker. I think it was Rebecca Blanchard, and not much happens, but it just takes you. It starts off so boring, and it just takes you on this fucking awesome ghost story journey, and it's a cracker.
Yeah, that's right.
Did you House of the Devil as well?
I was just about to say that. That literally was about to come spring off my lips, and you beat me to it.
That is a cracking film. It's like a 1980s witch babysitter film.
Yeah.
It's like, if that had come out in the 1980s, that would have been like, oh yeah, I could see this on the video shelves in the 1980s.
It's celebrating
only made a few years ago. So
yeah, it's actually celebrating 10 years this year.
Wow.
The House of the Devil. Yeah, believe it or not.
That's a cracking film.
It's a really good film. Really, really good film. And he was behind The Sacrament as well. And then we get probably another person to mention. So it's really the talent in this film is really rich, because we also have even though he's only in the very beginning, but we have Larry Fessenden in this too, as the neighbour, and he's like a huge actor, producer, writer, director, cinematographer, you name it. He's done a lot of stuff. He worked on some of the ABCs of Death too, I want to say, off the top of my head. So he's been a huge player in the scene. And equally, the girl at the beginning too, Caitlin Sherrill, She's been in VHS and The Sacrament as well. She cropped up in House of Cards as well. So there's the Paula
and Amy Seamatz as well. I think that's how you pronounce her last name.
Yeah,
she's a producer of a lot of mumblecore and mumblecore films. Actually, she's and she was an actor. And she was in Swimming Upstream and a few other sort of real art house of the mumblecore sci-fi sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
And she's fantastic as well.
She's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, I think she's in Pet Sematary as well. She's one of the people in Pet Sematary. I think she's the wife in Pet Sematary.
I thought so. I was just about to say to you, like, her face, as I was watching, I was like, she kind of looks like, and I was meant to look that up. I was like,
she's so multi-talented. Like,
yeah.
Like, I mean, I think she actually started off as a producer, producing most of these guys' films. Yeah,
that's right.
And worked from there, and ended up, in the films as well. So, and she's a cracking actor.
She's awesome. Yeah, she was. I
don't know if you've seen
Pet Sematary.
Have you seen Swimming Upstream?
No, I haven't. No,
it's one of the most bizarre films, and if you can explain it to me, I have absolutely no idea what it's.
Right.
It's so super weird, but it's just brilliant. I think it's done by. Who did it? I can't. Off the tip of my tongue, I can't remember, but he's done some absolute cracking films.
No worries.
And I think he did Primer.
Okay.
Primer. The time travel one.
Yeah, I know it. Yeah. I know the one you mean.
I think it's Swimming Upstream was his follow-up film to Primer.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Well, like she was, she's really good in Pet Sematary actually, and I really, we just did a podcast on Pet Sematary not long ago. And
cool.
I actually really enjoyed her character more than and her character journey more than most of the other characters in it. And she was also in Alien Covenant as well, which I know wasn't a lot of people's favourite movies when it was released, but I did remember her performance in it and thinking she was good.
I didn't mind it. I thought it was quite good.
Yeah. So absolutely. Like, so again, like
stellar cast.
And we haven't even gotten to the dad, who's played by Rob Moran.
Oh yeah.
He always crops up in like the Farrelly brothers kind of films, so like Dumb and Dumber and There's Something About Mary. Like really kind of plays to eccentricity in his performance usually, and he's a bit more dialed back in this one. And then one of the queens of 80s horror, Barbara Crampton's in this as the mum.
as the mum.
So she's obviously, people may know her from like Reanimator and From Beyond, Chopping Mall, during that kind of period, and awesome performance again in this, I thought. So like we're building this thing up. We're kind of saying like, okay, so it's got a great cast, it's got a great director, it's got a great writer behind this, and so when you put all those things together, it's little wonder it came out quite unanimously as the number one film for 2011. But let's I guess we should probably kind of quickly go through and dissect the reason, dissect the plot and look at why we think that is the case, because we're talking like 8 years now down the track. And like I said, when I watched it recently, I thought, I love it, and I love the soundtrack too. I haven't even mentioned the soundtrack to this.
It's great.
It's such
it reminds me so much of The Guest, which is, I think it's their follow-up film where it's that 80s synth soundtrack. It's so good.
Yeah, it really is.
It's gold. It really is.
It made me. I was sitting there going, I actually need to get this. I remember watching it the first time, going, "This is a cool soundtrack." But when I was listening to it, I was like, "Oh man, I need to get a hold of this a copy of this. It's so good."
I was kind of gutted actually because the trailer itself came out, I think, about a year before the film.
Okay.
And it had Lou Reed's Perfect Day. And so, when you see the CD player going on, it was just and it was that played underneath this horror.
Yeah.
The trailer's amazing.
Yeah.
Whoever cut the trailer did a brilliant job. I shared it around everywhere to all my colleagues.
Yeah.
And they were sold. So when that CD was on repeat the whole time.
Yes.
The neighbour's place, I was expecting it to be Lou Reed, but clearly they couldn't get the license for the music to spend that much on like a national film release.
Yeah, sure.
But they could probably do it for a trailer, I guess.
Yeah, I guess you can. But, you can kind of get away.
It would have been nice for them to get it
doing that. Although, do you know what
Yeah, because I mean, the trailer is short-lived, so.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. It only has so much longevity to it, so it's you can get your money's worth, I guess, by just popping it onto a trailer and getting people to kind of hook themselves into it. So they ended up using the song in it is called "Looking for the Magic" by Dwight Tilly Band.
That's right.
Yeah. So.
Which is cool. It's a good track.
It's a good kind of little poppy. It's because it's poppy. It works in juxtaposition to the horror that unfolds. So it's kind of and again, it kind of feels like sets the tone that this isn't. Yes, it's macabre, but there's a bit of comedy kind of underplaying underneath it all. Which I thought was kind of cool. And the thing is, like with the Iggy Pop track. I always think of Trainspotting with that one, so I kind of instantly am a bit.
True.
I have a different perspective, different association with it. That's right. All right. So look, as I said, we'll cut through. I mean, I think we can kind of cut through this fairly quickly. I mean, the running time for the movie is like 94 minutes. It's a good little, and it peps along at a really nice pace, as I said, with good little beats in between to kind of pause between when with the ebbs and flows of when the anarchy rises up and dies back down again. But the opening scenes, and I really like you've always got to have a big thing at the beginning. To pull people in, and there's a fairly long gap between anything else happening again, but that's good because you satiated people's bloodthirst for what they've come for a bit of horror, and then they've concentrated on building the characters up, and this is why I really love the movie, because I'm a huge fan of character development. And attention to character, and I think they do so much work on that. It really pays off when things start to unfold. So we get like this opening scene. It's like this house that's in like the middle. It seems like it's in the middle of nowhere, and this is where we get a guy and a girl. You hear what sounds like struggles, and on the audio, but then it turns out it's a couple having sex. The girl clearly not really into it, but the guy kind of, I guess, gets his satisfaction, and then he goes off to the shower. At which point, or is it shower or wash up? Anyway, he goes off somewhere to the toilet, I think. And then the girl goes off to get herself some like a drink. So, a couple of things in there: sex and booze, big no-nos. And then we get this moment where you kind of get this voyeuristic thing happening outside, looking in, and we get a shot of her perspective as she looks around, but we don't see what happens. And then we follow it again with the neighbour. His name's what's his name? I thought it was Mikey. Anyway, I haven't got it in front of me. But he comes out the shower, grabs the drink, and that's when he realises that there's something written on the window. He goes up to examine it, and it's the words "You're next" written in blood. But it's on the outside of the window, and that's when he looks down and he sees the dead body of the girl. At which point, this guy in a lamb mask walks. Does he walk in, or does he?
Oh, can't remember.
Anyway, sorry, I lost track there. But yes. the guy with the landmass kind of comes in, and then we don't see what happens to him. We just see the splash of blood go up against the words "You're next." So big opener. So put it in, and it's really kind of a cool moment. Then we pick up the scene afterwards, and it's daytime now, so the night has passed, and we're joining the matriarchal and patriarchal figures of the family that we're about to follow as they are coming back home. And it plays out this whole when they get into the house, it's a huge mansion, and the mum feels like you can tell they're well off, the way they talk, the way they dressed, and they're in a big fuck off mansion. But she hears noises upstairs, and the dad goes to investigate, only to find out that it's one of the sons, Crispian, there. I kind of missed a bit too. So there's a bit just before that where Crispian and Erin are driving there, and we get a sense of their relationship a little bit, and the way they're playing with each other. And she's not met the family, and this is the first time she's going to this thing to meet them. So for her, it's a big thing.
Yeah.
And he's sort of downplaying it a little bit by saying, it's not. We'll see. Like family functions aren't necessarily the best thing. So basically, like the girl.
No.
And this is what I think the dialogue plays on that so well. This is, as I said, I was reading some of the improv stuff comes out of the interplay that the family members have with one another, and they were definitely pulled on from their own experience, and I think we all identify with those painful get-togethers that can come together with families. Sure. So slowly, though, all the other siblings turn up. So we have, I've just got to try and remember these all now. So I mentioned the parents. We've got Crispian and Erin. We have the older brother Drake and his wife Kelly. We also have a younger sibling Felix and his partner Z. And we also have Amy. And she's the only daughter of the group, of the family, and her partner Tarek, who's played by Ty West. And so they all kind of sit down. There's a bit of kind of lead up to it first before they sit down for dinner. This is where some of the great character development comes out, because
definitely
we see the sexual frustration from the older brother Drake with his wife, and that's going on. There's a bit of a friendly banter between Crispian and Erin that's going on. The mum and dad are really a little bit awkward with their own kids. The mum especially is incredibly frozen and cold with them all, Interestingly, the Felix character, one of the younger ones, goes under the radar quite a bit early on, which I think is actually quite smart because of what unfolds. And we get the daughter Amy, who's very much the princess and pampered, and and daddy's little girl. And all these kind of little elements are unfolding. So we're really kind of absorbing this, knowing full well that something sinister's happened just down the road. And we even have a bit where Erin is asked to go by the mum to go and get some milk from next door, and she goes over there, but nobody answers the door, but she can hear the radio, the CD player keep playing the track, and just thinks that's a bit odd. So a bit of a red herring there, because if you hadn't seen the trailer, that is, and not seen the movie before, you would think, she's going to be the first one to get killed. But she comes back. And obviously we have that kind of dynamic set up between everyone before they then sit down and have this dinner. There's a bit more kind of awkwardness around the conversation. The Crispian character and Drake, the older brother, have very strong words with one another.
There's some great naturalistic sort of dialogue happening within the sort of meeting and greeting, and then the subsequent dinner scene where they're just sort of just bantering off each other. Like they clearly all have a history amongst each other. Which you kind of know they do anyway. If you know anything about the actors and whatnot, is that they're all involved with each other's films and whatnot. So they're clearly friends. Way back. And so they've got a nice little bit of banter going on that it's not forced.
No.
So it feels quite normal. Like, but there's some good character play here with different sibling rivalries and whatnot going on. So there's tension. There is tension
there, and one of the bits I really loved was the dynamic between Drake and Tarek. When Tarek tells him that he's shot some documentaries, and then Drake goes on about commercials, and he goes, "I think that's the art form that so much talent goes into this thing," and really, basically, in a way, kind of really putting down Tarek, and not really responding to the fact that he's, shot a documentary for that actually featured in a festival, just to kind of play his very masculine heterosexual kind and be the alpha male in the room, essentially. I loved his performance. He's really a fucking bastard and annoying, but I thought and actually weirdly has a bit of a heart of gold in there, which you don't realise until as the film's unfolding. You go, oh my god, you actually this is what I was meaning about the development of the characters. You may have an opinion of one, and then it just changes as the movie
situations make it it's completely different,
That's right.
That's cool. There's some good red herrings in that way.
That's right.
It definitely puts it to next level, because, the story's the plot is actually quite thin when you think about it. But it's the characters that keep it going.
Absolutely.
And which is the essential sort of mumblecore stuff. So but
I really I know, and I agree with you that I've seen some people react to this film saying it didn't offer anything new, and it was a bit weak on plot structure. But like I said, I love the I just love the character dynamics in it, and the plot line because of the characters are so strong. The plot line is enough to kind of tick along. As I said, the pacing of it's really nice. You end up having
essentially
fun
these type of films anyway. You don't get the character work. Usually, you just get a thin plot and some silly dialogue, basically, with a bunch of teenagers getting offed. And so this actually puts it into a real world.
Yes, that's right.
You actually get a sense of, you get a sense that you're there.
Absolutely. This is where the drama really ranks up, though, because the next scene is where we see there's a really great moment where Tarek, everyone's arguing, they're all shouting, the family's all kind of having a go at each other, and the Tarek character, and what I loved about this is because this to me says a lot about the fact that he is a director and obviously into the small detail, because it's him that thinks, I think I just saw something in the corner of my eye, and he goes up to the window to have a look, and all of a sudden a huge crossbow goes flying through the window and whacks him in the head.
Which nobody notices.
Nobody notices, no. That's
and
right.
You hear the gurgling and whatnot. Yeah. Because you hear the sounds. Yeah. And you're going, holy shit. And I think it's only it's Shani Vincent's character that sees the glass on the floor.
Yeah, she does. Yeah,
and she just looks. There's such a tiny little details.
Yeah.
And just looking down at the glass on the floor, it's like, and then just looking up. And you don't really see anything until everybody notices.
Yeah, that's right.
And then you see him sort of drop down. So, but it's just a couple of little shots that build it up to bang.
Yeah.
And then he's down.
Yeah, that's it. And he drops down, and then obviously everyone starts freaking out. And the camera movement's really good here too, because it starts shaking around as they're trying to follow characters around and stuff. And
it goes quite anarchic, and it turns quite, like real
Yes.
Like the shit's happening, you know.
Yeah.
So, that scene is such an exciting scene itself. Is that everybody sort of panicking and losing their minds, and that's when Shani Vincent's character steps in and just takes full control.
Yeah.
She's like, you know, which we find out later that she's grew up in a survivalist camp.
Yeah, that's right.
Just kicks in. She's immediate.
Yeah, it's cool.
I think everybody's surprised.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, and I guess we'll touch on that as well because we can say it now because even the Crispian character kind of her boyfriend says, "I've just never seen this side of you before." He's like completely like, and then spoilers, but there's a reason that he's really surprised because it goes against his plan of what he's hoping to unfold.
Exactly.
So, but like things happen really quite quickly here, though, too, because they all start panicking and they manage to get out of the room where the crossbows were being fired, and they're in the hallway, the main kind of entrance room to the mansion, and they start talking about making a run for it. Can somebody make a run for it? Because they, who's the fastest? Sorry, we've got to say that Drake got shot by a crossbow in the back as well.
Yes,
he's still alive, but he's been shot in an arrow in the back. So, and they're all talking about trying to make a run for it, and Erin's kind of saying, no, we should stay inside. That's crazy. You shouldn't go outside. But she's kind of at this point outnumbered by the fact that the family members are trying to stick together. And they kind of, there's a bit of a throwaway comment that Crispian makes saying Drake should run. He's pretty quick, even though he's wounded. Like it's just he so wants to get rid of him. It's like and it's kind of a moment that's sort of a bit lost unless you're really paying attention to the dialogue.
And he's like, "I've got an arrow in the back of my
head." I know.
You asshole.
I know. I love it.
And he goes, "We got legs."
It's so good. And then but then it's the daughter that they kind of decide. So the Amy character. And she wants to please her dad, as we said before, she's daddy's girl.
Yeah.
And so she goes running full pelt. They do this in slow motion.
But it's such a tense moment. It's like that.
And the music classic. Again is awesome under here.
Let's go.
Yeah.
And we're going. And there's a whole bunch of different elements until she just runs straight into the wire.
Yeah, and gets garroted on the neck.
Man. Yeah, just sliced in the throat.
That's right.
That's a cracking death.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, right? The death scenes in this are really full on and brutal. And which to me, as a horror fan, you want to see that stuff. But because it's got this whole comedy, drama, tension moment all kind of mixed in together, it makes it such a good melting pot of a film. It's
well, clearly they haven't really spent a great deal of money. It's essentially a one-set film, and they've just spent the money on the gore, basically.
Yeah.
So it's like I remember many people have said to me, if you're going to make a horror film, we'll make it as cheaply as you want, but just make sure the gore is good.
Yeah.
And that's all people want. And so they've just bloody done it, basically.
Yeah, that's right.
So I mean, the fact that they have the creative prowess to create great dialogue.
Yeah.
Nice little plot.
Awesome characters. That's right.
Goes a long way too, but it's also the deaths that make the big difference.
Yeah.
Horror movies are, if you're going to do like a big gory horror film where people are getting off, you make sure that they die properly.
That's it.
You don't insinuate that they die.
That's it, man. That's it. I mean, like as I said, I'm already kind of pouring my own thoughts on this because I love this movie, and I've been actually wanting to watch this for a while. Again, having watched it a couple of years ago, because I do like it, and I was secretly wanting this one to be the number one film anyway. And there was a point where I think, as I said, Grave Encounters was starting to look like it was going to catch up, and I was like, "Oh no, please!" And then, yeah, as I said, You're Next. Then all of a sudden, people started voting on it, pushed to the right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so look, what was I going to say to that? So one thing I forgot to mention in the plot is the fact that it is mentioned that the cell phones receptions have been jammed.
Yes.
And it's Felix's character that said, I saw this somewhere in a movie where, there's this, you can buy this stuff for like $30.
$3 from a Radio Shack. And so that kind of gives a lot away, really. So
yeah,
he's not the smartest person.
No, he really isn't.
That's for sure.
He really isn't. Dear.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's so that's happening, and then the next bit is where Crispian says he's going to leave the house to find help, and so he goes out, and we don't see him for a little while. In the meantime, the dad takes the mum upstairs because she's completely lost it, quite rightly, because she's just seen her daughter completely killed. And so she goes up, and so she's having a bit of an anxiety attack. She goes up to the bedroom and lies down. We're then downstairs, and as the dad goes downstairs, we see a fox mask appear in the bedroom, and because he's under the bed, and he comes out with a machete, and we see him raise the machete up, and then the mum screams. The rest of the family are downstairs, they hear this, they come running upstairs to find Aubrey's dead and the words "You're next" written in blood on the wall.
Yeah.
He wrote that pretty quick. All I'm saying. Like, you're quick. I need more blood. Okay.
Well, he'd already had practice for the neighbours.
That's true, that's true.
He's old-handed. So.
Anyway, but he manages to write it on there before he disappears again. So then we also get the this bit where Erin, again, this is where it does nicely pepper in how Erin knows certain things about survival. This is one of the earlier ones where she texts 911 into her phone even though there's no reception, because she said that she's read somewhere that or she knows somewhere that even if you text it, they receive it still, or if it's a 911.
That's right.
And then they can trace the call. And they're also she's also looking around for some weapons and stuff to kind of protect themselves at this stage. And then we so that's happening. So and then the guy in a tiger mask, who is actually played by Simon Barrett. Yeah, the writer of the movie. He tries to attack Erin through the window, and she stabs him in the hand. When she turns around again, he's obviously gone. Very old horror trope, this, but it works quite nicely in this scene. So then.
I think he's clearly surprised that he's getting hurt. He thought he could grab her and they were just easy pickings.
Yeah, that's
right. But then
he's
like, ah! Yeah. He lets out quite a squeal.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh my god, they're fighting back. They're supposed to fight back.
Well, they're not meant to do that. Yeah. So we're really getting an inkling here that she can definitely hold her own, which is really, really coming through. After that, we then find out. Oh, that's right. We join Kelly. So she's the wife of Drake. She stays up in the bedroom with the mum, and and she's like looking around as if she can kind of sense a presence, and that's when the fox mask guy is still under the bed, and she peeks under the bed. She's, it's that again horror trope thing, but it works really well. And she peers under the bed, and sure enough, the fox mask guy is still under there. So she panics, runs out the house, completely out of the house, and keeps on running, and she ends up at the neighbour's house.
That's right.
And we find out this is the actual. Again, find out this is the house from the beginning of the film, and she can see the guy sitting in the chair, but he's back to us, and she's banging on the window, kind of trying to get him to answer, and he's not answering.
Yeah.
And then she sees a reflection of a lamb mask. Guy wearing a lamb mask.
Yeah.
And then he basically, she turns around, he punches her so hard she goes crashing through this window. It's a painful scene, and you grimace when you watch that. And then she's kind of crawling over the floor. She then looks around to see the guy that's sitting in the chair, and he's dead.
He's dead. Yeah,
he's a goner. And then she gets thrown onto the floor through the coffee table again, or something like that.
Yeah.
And then so she's really kind of out for the count. And then the guy in the lamb mask picks up an axe, I want to say, and he just.
That's right. Just swings it to the side of her head, basically.
Like it's a golf club, you know.
Yeah.
Really brutal.
Did we forget what happened to her husband, by the way? Because he got shot in the back, didn't he?
Yeah.
And then he runs out, and then he pulls the thing out of his back.
Oh,
and then just and it drops to the floor, just passes out.
I forgot that. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. He catches
pull out the thing.
Yeah, that's it. He catches the arrow that's in his back on the grodded wire, and out of frustration pulls it out, and then collapses.
Passes out.
Yeah.
So I think they duck him they hide him in a cupboard or something.
Yeah, it's all behind some curtains or something.
Is that what they do?
It's behind some curtains.
Yeah, something like that.
So he's kind of out the way, and then, and again, that's a plot device to make you forget about him for later on. So you're right, I did forget about that. And then the wife gets killed, and there's this great bit where the guy in the landmask then just sits down next to the dead guy and just stares straight down the barrel at the camera. When the music kicks into the CD starts again,
it goes on to repeat.
Yeah, it's so cool. Then we get back to the main house, and the tiger mask guy turns up again, going through the window, and he tries to kill Erin, but she grabs the axe and basically gets to him first, and just boy does she get to him.
Oh yeah, she just absolutely turns his head into mincemeat.
Yeah.
But that is brutal.
Really brutal, and you've got, and again, I keep commending the screenplay for this, because you get the Felix and Z character watching, which could look at like they're a bit helpless and a bit disgusted about what she's doing, but also as the plot unfolds, you realise they're like, fuck.
But she gets up and she goes, "Thanks for your help." And it's like, and they're like, "Well, you look like you're doing well yourself."
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Well, no, it's not that they felt helpless. They just didn't give a shit.
Yeah. That's right. It was like, whatever. And we start to realise at this point.
That's the red flag going off there.
Yeah, just how cold Felix is about it. You know.
Which could be, the rich boy sense of entitlement. Sitting back waiting for the world to come to him, or there's something else happening between their characters.
Yes, that's right. So the dad is told. That's right. Erin says, "I think there's still somebody in the house," and the dad goes upstairs to investigate. So he does that, and then and I think they go to for some reason they separate a little bit. So Erin's on her own, and she goes into that back room, which I think leads down to the basement. At which point the guy in the landmask comes in, and he finds the tiger mask guy
Dead,
yeah. So he goes into a massive rage, flips the dinner table over.
Yeah.
And just as he then discovers Drake hiding behind the brother hiding behind the behind the curtains, Erin comes out and stabs him with a screwdriver, and the landmask guy runs off. Meanwhile, then upstairs, Dad finds the sleeping bags and the food wrappers. So yes, it confirms Erin's thoughts that there was people hiding in there all this time. He tries to tell Z and Felix this, who've come up to find him, but then the fox mask guy appears and slits the guy's throat, and Felix and Z just kind of watch it unfold. And then this is where it's revealed that
that's the big reveal.
That they're behind it, and they've hired these assassins, the fox mask, land mask, and tiger mask, to murder the family so that they could collect their inheritance. And then meanwhile, Erin's downstairs, and she starts setting up these like booby traps, like the nails in the wood under the floor, pointing upwards in the floor. Bit Home Alone. You watch Home Alone? That kind of stuff.
It goes all Home Alone.
It goes Home Alone. Been watching lots of Macaulay Culkin. And then and this is where so she's doing that with the help of Z, who's come downstairs, and I think Felix had an excuse about going to find Crispin or something like that. I can't remember. And then this is where it is revealed that Erin grew up in a survival compound. And that's where she learned his combat skills, and Z's like, oh fuck, I'm good. And so she goes to Z, then considers killing Erin at that point, but she stops.
Yeah, she almost does it.
Yeah, and then Felix, but she stops because Erin turned around.
Yeah.
And then meanwhile, Felix and Drake are downstairs in the basement, and this is where Felix, you see him slowly putting these gloves on, and then he basically pulls out a knife and just stabs Drake in the stomach. And that look of shock on Drake's face is gold. But he keeps finding other knives and keeps stabbing him, and he goes, "Why won't you die? This is really difficult for me,
This is really annoying."
And
what does he say? Why won't you die? This is really hard for me.
Yeah, it's really hard for me.
It's like, oh, you poor.
Yeah. So funny.
But yeah, it just goes to show you the sense of entitlement. So it's obviously the sense of what I mentioned before, the sense of entitlement. Yeah. Plus, he didn't give a shit. So he had both going on there. That's
right. So true.
So quite a horrible little rich boy there.
Yeah, he's a really horrible rich boy. So he basically kills Drake in that scene, and so he's getting his hands dirty now. He's the one that's having to do these deeds in order to get what he wants. So. And then this is the point where Erin goes upstairs, and this is where she discovers Paul's body. And the fox mask guy who's still up there jumps out, and she just does this instinct jump out the window of the top floor, which is also a bit of a horror trope. But what I like about this bit is the fact that she doesn't come out of it unscathed. She's seriously hurt herself.
Yeah.
And she has a shard of glass that's kind of embedded in her leg. And so she's now hobbling around, and she's lying there, and this is where I think Landmask finds her again, because he sees the light on, and so she has to do a bit of a run for it. And
she pulls out the glass beforehand.
She pulls out the glass. That's right.
She?
Yeah, she does. Yeah. And so
that was an experience.
Yeah. They make it really that's the thing. The shots they look really painful, and you really I spent a lot of time grimacing during this film.
Yeah, definitely.
And then so she does ends up back in the house again, and she hides in that kind of cubbyhole thing again. And this is where she overhears the argument between Felix, Z, and the fox mask and the landmask guy, and that's where she realizes that Felix and Z are in on this thing.
Yeah, that's the character reveal.
Yeah. And then, but then her phone beeps because I think they split. Sorry, I think they all split off again. Oh no, no, that's not right. The phone beeps because it's the text message reply from 911 saying that an emergency vehicle has been sent out.
Yeah.
And Fox Mask Dude says, "It's all right. I'll go. I'll sort it out." It's also revealed just before that the Lamb Mask guy and Tiger Mask guy are brothers.
Yes.
As well. And that's why he was so devastated when he found his brother was dead. Fox Mask guy goes to investigate. We see him come up to the. We see his image just behind the curtains, and she's everything's kind of bracing herself. And then as he opens the curtain, she does this full on
punches him in the throat.
Yeah,
it's gold.
Yeah, and he just goes down.
Like a sack of shit.
Yeah. That's right. And then, does she? He's not dead at that point, though, is he?
No, I think she just runs. Does she run off?
I think she runs off. Yeah, that's right. She runs out the door, and they all kind of go in pursuit. But she runs back in through an open window, and then and everyone kind of pours out. The landmask guy's still a bit injured, so he's a bit slower. But he's sort of smarter, but he's not, because he realises that the window's open. He thinks, "Oh, I wonder if she's doubled back inside." And he looks in, and he sees the nails on the thing, but he doesn't realise that she's done a double row. So he steps over one, but puts his foot straight down on the other one. And that's when she kind of basically ambushes him, and she kills him. In their scene, and we get that great shot with her just standing there with the axe in her hand. And so you're kind of at that point going, all right, so she's only got a few of these guys to try and go. And then
she sets up the axe.
This is where she goes MacGyver.
That's right.
She goes all MacGyver.
Yeah.
Sets all the house up with some more kind of booby traps and stuff. And then the Fox Mask guy enters the house again. And this is where Erin has gone down into the basement, and she smashes all the lights out.
That's right.
And then kind of waits and uses a camera for the flash to kind of almost blind him a bit, and then she jumps out on him to surprise him and kill him.
Basically smashes him over the head with a log.
That's it.
Over and over again.
That's right. She goes brutal, man.
Then
she's
fucking badass.
She's so badass in this. I love it. I love it so much. So then Felix and Z then enter the house, and there's this awesome struggle scene in the kitchen between the three of them. And, there's a bit where I think Z finds her first, and they're having a bit of a bitch fight kind of scene. Felix then comes in. He's trying to do it, but he keeps getting bashed back. You can realise that actually he's not very good at defending himself. There's a great bit where she grabs the pan and then throws it, because she has been boiling a pan, but unfortunately it's just the cold soup that goes over him, not the pan that was full of water. And
he's like, it's just warm, you stupid.
Before she then plunges him in the face or something.
And he slips over.
Yeah, he slips over on the soup. Yeah. And then she then does that same kind of punch to Z in the throat, I think. So wins her. So she goes down. At which point she turns around and grabs a blender.
Oh yeah.
Turns it on and shoves it onto Felix's head and basically minces his brains.
Yeah.
Before then turning around to Z, who's kind of looking at her, and she grabs this knife and just sinks it straight into the top.
Right in the top of the head. Yeah.
Brutal. Really fucking brutal. And of course, then the phone rings, and it's Felix's cell phone, and she picks it up without speaking, and it's Crispian on the other side. So her boyfriend. And then this is the other reveal. And he's the one.
He's in on it.
He's in on it too, yeah. And so he's basically thinks he's talking to Felix and saying, "I'm really sorry I couldn't come in. I just, you know what I'm like in this. I can't stand violence. I'm a pacifist."
Yeah.
So funny. So basically, yeah, and he comes in, he's walking in, he says, I'm going to come in. And this is where Erin reveals that she's on the other end of the phone. And then he's like, all right, tries to sweet talk her, tries to bribe her with the money. Saying,
makes up some bullshit that she was never meant to get hurt.
That's right.
And then just basically, just tries to lie his way out of it. He knows he's toast.
Yeah, shows his true colours, and then she just basically grabs the knife that she's got in her hand and right in the jugular in the neck. Kills him, and he's just like, why? And she goes, why not? And he goes down. And just at that point, a policeman arrives on the scene and he shoots her.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh my God, fucking hell. She goes for all that. Because and he's doing it because he's seen her kill Christian, thinking that she's in on it. He calls for backup, and then he enters through the front door, which is obviously where the booby trap set up that Erin's set for the fox mask guy. And she quickly goes, no, and you just see the thing swing down, and then it cuts to black with the blood splatter your necks, and that's the end of the movie.
Yes.
Gold.
Love it.
It's such a great movie, and like I said, I so enjoyed watching. I loved it the first time I watched it, and actually I was a latecomer to it. It was one of those ones where, and I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago that I watched it for the first time.
Yeah. I missed it at the cinema because it got a small cinema release, and I know a few friends who went to see it, and I was like, why am I missing this? And then I realised, I think it was just like my son was just born around that time.
Yeah, I think
or he was like 6 months old or something, and I just could not get out of the house.
Yeah,
for love nor money. It was just like, damn you! I can't see a Mumblegore film at the cinema. But it would have been a cracking film to see. I know a few people saw it and they went to see it numerous times.
Yeah.
And like these are non-horror fans as well.
Yeah.
So I think he was very clever and he cut through a lot of the non-horror fans as well.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I was reading. I mean, admittedly, I'm reading this off Wikipedia, but it did say that when Wingard approached Barrett about writing it, he said, "I want to do a home invasion movie because apparently that's what he said. That's the only films that still really frighten him, and that's why he was drawn to that subject." And then, but Barrett was also interesting. This is the bit that struck me. Is that Barrett was inspired by Agatha Christie mysteries.
Well, I was going to say that actually, because when I was watching it, I was like, numerous times. I've not read too much on it, but it was. It felt like, and then there were none. The 10 Little Indians.
Yeah. That's right.
Inappropriate word, but
I know.
It felt like that, and there literally was 10 characters who were slowly getting, whittled down, and there was one murderer, or essentially there was like 3 murderers in this. So, but it's
I do wonder if it's
even the whole mansion feel.
Yeah, no, I think you're right on the money with the and then there were none. It's definitely and like in the original, I've got a bit of backstory on that particular novel. In the original novel, it actually goes down to none. Like there is no survivors, which is one of the reasons why it's one of the most bleakest things that Agatha Christie has ever written. When the movie came out, the black and white movie, they thought that was a bit too bleak, so they made 2 survivors.
Right.
But then the BBC did an adaptation of it maybe 1 or 2 years ago, and they stuck to the original concept.
Wow.
So the reason I mention that is in relation to this film is that you could be forgiven for thinking, was there none at the end of this? Because we don't actually know necessarily that she survived. She's been shot.
I think she was shot in the shoulder, though.
She was shot in the shoulder.
Spinning around, yeah.
So she does call out, but it does play on that thing, like, is there none or is there one survivor?
Yeah.
Thing. But also, like, it does talk about screwball comedies as well, and you get that with the comedy element that comes out.
Yeah.
And apparently also Barrett mentioned that Bay of Blood was also in the back of his mind as well.
Right.
As a bit of an inspiration to his writing as he was going through stuff. So, excuse me. Bay of Blood was like I want to say it was a 60s, maybe early 70s movie by Mario Bava. So like that early Italian kind of giallo kind of style movies that came out. But yeah, to me, it's the humour in this that really the mixture of the humour, great character development, and the gore factor in it is,
and it's an exciting film as well. Like, there's action. The action's really well done.
Yeah.
So you feel like you're in there, and it's such a claustrophobic space, but it actually turns into quite a wide, quite big landscape.
Yeah.
Considering it's only like one house.
Yeah.
And they don't go into too many of the rooms either.
No, that's right.
It's actually it feels a lot bigger than when you think about it. How many rooms they actually go into? There's about 4 rooms, but it feels a lot bigger than it actually is. It does. And they make the most out of the space that they've got. It's certainly. I mean, it's very well acted, very well directed, and very well written.
Yeah.
And so you've just got this absolute combination of great craftspeople putting together like just a little horror film essentially.
Yeah.
Because, as I said, it's a one set piece, and they just they nailed it. They absolutely fucking nailed it. So
they really did. Yeah. It's and as I said, I think it's just it was a great combination of really like all those things we've just said, but as just to reiterate the talent involved in this too. Really working together to make something that was like it stands strong. Like, and we're coming to the end of the podcast. It was voted number 1 for 2011. Do you think the movie still stands strong today? If people haven't seen it, would you recommend it?
Me?
Yeah, would you? Yeah,
yes. Sorry. Yeah. Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
I started rewatching it about a month ago.
Yeah.
And then you messaged me this morning. You were like, "You still right for the podcast tonight?" I was like, "Shit, I haven't watched the rest of it. No, I can't remember what happens next." Because it's been a couple of years since I watched it.
Yeah.
And then, so I watched it on the train on the way home. I watched the last hour of it when the action sort of picks up, and it's like, holy shit, it's good. Definitely.
That's the thing with me.
I think it's one of those. Sorry, what were you going to say?
No, go on. You talk.
I just think it's one of those films that it's not set within a time parameter. So you've got all of the elements that make it a timeless horror film, basically.
Yeah.
So you're not restricted to a specific era in time. It could be set it's got the cell phones. It could be set 10 years ago. It could be set now. You don't know, so it's got that sort of elements to it, but it's just a bloody good, well-told story.
It really is.
And it's an exciting film. No, I really dug it. I think it stands the test of time, even 8 years later.
Yeah.
Thinking about 10 years' time, I think we're still going to say the same thing.
I was literally going to say that too.
It's just a lot of nice elements.
Yeah, and that's what's great, and it was so good to kind of revisit it, as I said, and really get stuck into this because I loved it. I remembered loving it when I first watched it, and I was, like I said, was really keen to rewatch it again because, like you, it's been a little while. I was like, I haven't watched that in a while. So I was really keen to, as I said, to watch it, and I watched it last night. And Australian listeners out there, it's on Stan at the moment. You can stream it. Go fucking watch it. Do yourself a favour. If you've not seen it, do it. It's like I said, it's an hour and a half. It's a good little movie. It peps on at a great speed. Check it out. I know we're talking through the plot device, but if you haven't seen it, go do yourself a favour. Go check it out.
What do you think the deal is with the colour scheme? Because I don't know. I mean, I've seen it a couple of times now, and it's got that sort of purple hue to it.
Yes.
And it's not realistically graded, basically. So it's not naturalistically graded.
No, that's right.
But it's got this little purple and yellow hue to it. I don't know what it is. Whether that means something.
Yeah.
So the colour scheme of things. kind of interested in.
No, that's true.
Why the choice of?
Yeah, I don't know.
Colour.
Maybe. Well, if it's purple, there's that. That's the symbol of the wealth and.
Well, there you go.
And maybe I don't know whether that's why, but that to me would be the reason. Because purple is just closely associated to the colour of royalty, and royalty being money and power, essentially.
Well, that's it. That view then, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Essentially, at its core is it's a fight for money and power, and
that would be my hunch. Yeah. But thanks for that. I mean, this is why it's great having you on board with these things, because you have the eye, coming from the director's lens, that you have the eye for those things that some people might not pick up on. But thanks for that. That's really cool. All right, man. Well, like I said, you guys voted for it for 2011 for the best movie. We've actually really enjoyed discussing this one. It's been a blast. So thank you for voting for it. Do stick around for more of these. No doubt at some point down the track we're going to be doing 2012 and right through the rest of the decade as we go through these. So keep an eye out for those polls as they post them. I'll try and push them out as much as I can across as many platforms as possible. And get voting, because it's your say that matters, and whatever hits number one, we will talk about it in our next podcast. Until next time, I'm Saul Muerte, and I was joined by Miles Davies.
See ya.
Goodbye.
You're listening to the Surgeons of Horror podcast. Music supplied by Peter Nezik. For more discussions or podcasts, head over to surgeonsofhorror.com or head over to our Facebook and Twitter sites for the latest news and updates.